I have been, like everybody else in America and the world over, which is actually kind of fantastic that this has become like a worldwide movement, pretty fucking angry over the video. And I didn't know how to, or if we should discuss it, because we're another two white guys on a podcast talking about our anger over George Floyd, which is not like unconsequential, but I mean, what can we add to the conversation? And I've been writing about his murder, which, and all the protests that have followed since it's happened. That's been my job. That's superseded COVID-19. So all I've been writing about is this, and just saturated in it and getting off of work and being fucking angry. Like at the brutality of the police afterwards during the protest, a goddamn Trump using the military or not the military, but the police and all the legal forces he has at his disposal to disperse people from Lafayette Park so he could take that god awful democracy mocking photo with Esper and Barr and all that. And I didn't want to just yell. And then it was Wednesday when I was putting together a story about his autopsy report. Mm-hmm. And the story that we all wrote, I wrote it too, was about how he had COVID-19. Right? That's it. He was infected on a November 26th, not November 26th. I need to calm down a little bit. May 26th, when they performed the autopsy, there was traces of RNA still in his navel cavity, right? That's what everybody wrote about. That's not really news in a way, though, because everybody, we knew he was sick. He knew he was sick. But I read the report, which was really difficult to understand. And the thing that struck me was that George Floyd had a pelvic tumor. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no one wrote about it. I saw one article that wrote about it, and that was a scientific journal, right? And they went over all his like different injuries. Like it's a 20-page document that goes over every little like laceration, because he had like cuts to his face and lips. That's why they called the EMT. That's why the police called him, because he was bleeding from his mouth. So there's all that listed. And then under the issues he had that did not cause his death, one of them, there's three of them, and one of them's like hypertension, things like that we knew. A pelvic tumor.
Benign or malignant?
I don't think it was cancerous. It's a rare tumor. I went to the Mayo Clinic. Not physically. I went to the website to figure out what it was, because I've never, it's jargon. I don't know what this thing is. And it's a rare tumor that affects the nerves. And it's slow growing, and it can eventually become cancerous to the tissue around it. Right? Okay. And it didn't seem to be, the term, they said it wasn't necessarily cancerous, but it could be painful. And the thing that struck me about it was, did he know?
Right.
Like,
America's pay-to-play healthcare system, you may not have gone to check up on it.
Yeah.
You may have just taken it as the pain that comes with getting older in life, the aches and pains that you grow accustomed to as you get older. Mm-hmm. So what do you think this? So you have anger toward the culture that gave rise to his murder, mm-hmm. and you have anger at how injustice has been done to him journalistically. Mm-hmm. So what do you feel about this? How do you feel about the pelvic tumor in relation to those two things?
There's something really disturbing to me about the fact that I'm a dude in South Korea, in Jeju, writing a report. Everybody has access to I like to pretend that I'm fancy and I have like special information, because we all do. But no, we can all get it. His autopsy. And there's something really disturbing to me that I'm a white dude in Korea who probably knows more about his own body than he necessarily did. And I don't know if he knows about it. That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying, but he may not have. And it's just another insult in a way, right? Because the fact that he doesn't know about it is systemic racism. It's part of that. Like you were saying, right? Like the reason why black people are disproportionately dying from COVID-19 is not because they're black. It's because they suffer from these ailments that are part of the fact that they aren't afforded the privilege of going to the doctor as much as other people. There was a study, I remember, maybe not even a study, it was something I heard or listened to or read about why people who are wealthier tend to be healthier. And that's because they are taught that they have the ability to go into the doctor's office and demand service. There's something wrong here. Look at it. Well, people who are poor, they don't feel they have the right to do that because the person in front of them is richer, better educated. A doctor has a title, probably has land, you know?
Right.
So the fact that I don't know how to find out if he knew that or not. You know, like that. Do you understand? Like, is that clear why it bothers me?
Yeah. Terry Crews was on Mike Tyson's podcast recently.
Mike Tyson has a podcast?
Oh, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. You see Mike Tyson from the Michael Spinks era. This violence machine who was programmed by Custy Amato to hurt people, and how fearsome he was, how powerful and precise his hits were. And you look at him now, he's a very peaceful, friendly, he's got a little punch, he's got a beard, and you know, he still has the same voice that is almost a ironic counterpoint to his tremendous fearsome prowess in the ring and his fierce temper that he used to have. You know, it's still there. So you're seeing the man who was the most dangerous man on the planet with his fists at one point in time on the planet with his fists, and you see him getting high and interviewing people he admires who admire him more. It's like people get on his show and interview him because they love him so much.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating podcast, and he says, I'm about peaceful now. Don't go reminding me about stuff like that. Stuff like I don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not prohibitive. He's just like, stop teasing me, basically. Stop bringing up the time that I had a tiger in my front yard and I was petting it with a championship belt around my waist, you know, wondering why people wouldn't get out of the car. You know? But Terry Crews was on the Mike Tyson podcast, and Mike Tyson's producer, who's an ex-NFL player, young guy in his 30s, mid-30s, asked Terry Crews about what he thinks about what black women think about a particular issue. I forget what the issue was. And Terry Crews goes, "Hold on, man. I only want to speak for myself and who I represent, which is black men. I can't talk about black women. Need to talk about what they need to talk about." And he wasn't establishing a hierarchy of grievances. He was just saying, "I don't know."
Yeah,
you have to ask a black woman. So I feel the same way, or I feel an analogous case exists with me as a white male in America right now. My response to the protests that are going on right now, I want to say to other white men, be better. Read James Baldwin. Listen to Nina Simone and music.
Richard Wright.
Read Richard Wright, for Christ's sake. Read Ralph Ellison. Read Du Bois. Read Frederick. Brush up on your Frederick Douglass that you got in grade school or middle school.
Du Bois.
You know, talk about, read Bell Hooks. You know, the nom de plume for Gloria Jean Watkins. Read Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
Lorraine Hansberry, just educate yourself. There, I want to talk to white men because I feel comfortable talking about.
Mm.
Stop getting away with having black people be better than you because they have to be. They have to be. How
Mm.
could if Barack Obama in 2008 or
Mm.
2007 when it was running was taped 10 years before clandestine saying, I like to grab women by the pussies whether they want it or not.
Mm.
He never would have been president.
Mm.
They tried to bag him on smoking weed
Yeah.
in college. Thank God it didn't work. Barack Obama is a magnificent human being. Do you agree or disagree with his politics?
Mm. Or what
He's
his foreign
educated.
policy or whatnot. He's eloquent.
He's a magnificent human being, and there is no way that a man with a personal and professional record as sloppy as Donald Trump's as a black man would ever have been elected.
Mm.
Excuse me, never would have happened. And white men can be as fucking sloppy and it's just as loose with their words, as incautious with their behavior with policemen.
Mm-hmm.
Not as they want to be. There are limits, even to what a white man can get away with in a confrontation with a cop. But there's a thicker margin for error, I think.
George
And
Floyd didn't do anything, right?
Didn't do shit.
He didn't do anything.
The 12-year-old boy who got shot in Cleveland didn't do anything. He had a toy gun.
Yeah. Trayvon Martin eating Skittles or whatever it was.
And they try to say, "Oh, he's a big guy. He's beating up on vigilante D'Artagnan over there, whatever the fuck is Zimmerman."
Yeah.
It's like, is that it? That's no excuse. Zimmerman was looking. The same guys who shot Ahmaud Arbery. They were looking. They were looking for trouble. Yeah. They were looking for trouble. They were looking for trouble, and
they were looking
found
for an excuse to lynch a person.
They made it up.
Yeah.
Say they found it. They made it up. In a figure of a man or men in each case, who the public would work up their own reasonable doubt in saying, all right, maybe he deserved to get shot. That's bullshit, right? That's the country I'm living in. White men need to do a better job in this country being sensitive to the needs of their brothers and sisters who have a different skin color, but the same stake in this country's future. It's just, I'm so sick and fucking tired of hearing white people say, oh, well, there's two sides to educate your motherfucking selves about, try to imagine for 5 minutes what it's like to be the living inheritor of getting kidnapped and stolen from Africa, getting your name taken from you, your religion, your language taken from you, being beaten, raped, murdered, put to stud.
Yeah.
Put to stud, bred like chattel. And then after the tremendous bloodbath of the Civil War, being nominally freed, and the white country at large, having no use for you anymore, living for a further 150, 160 years as an unwanted problem that can be ignored at will or used as the way a bully uses a skinny kid for his lunch money, and worse. Well, over the years, try to educate anyone who's saying these. I understand where they're coming from. They need to calm the fuck down. Well, now is the time. Now is the time, and I just want, this is a partnership. As much as this country right now looks like a fractured mess, it's a partnership between people who smell differently and look differently from one another. Like it or not, we all got to work together because we're all Americans.
The autopsy
starts in your own heart.
The autopsy gave a bunch of people ammunition, right? Because he had fentanyl in his system, and he had taken
Therefore, he
meth.
deserved to have his fucking neck broken. No,
And also it was a counterfeit bill. You know how much money he's. How many times do you know if you had a counterfeit bill? Do you know if you ever bought anything with a counterfeit bill? I'm gonna kill my dog, by the way.
Yeah, you gotta get him to stop barking. We can't have that in the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my god. What the hell?
Or maybe we can,
buddy. Stop it. There's people probably like walking around outside, and he's like, "Hold on." So
this is a homespun effort, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So
it's a craft podcast.
What about the reason? Like, does it change anything to know that maybe? And I put this on Twitter because that's what I'm using my Twitter for now. All the stuff that I find that I think is interesting that's not going to go into stories that I think are important, right? Like, could he self-medicating? The tumor causes pain, right? Also, there's a line from Childish Gambino, and I'm not trying to speculate. Like, I'm not. Childish Gambino once said that, of course, we're always high, or something to that effect. Of course, we take drugs. We are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Like all the time, right? So there's got to be. And how many white people do drugs constantly, of different variations? Right?
All the time.
It's so
right now.
Yeah, I'm drinking coffee, which is not to the same degree, but I was thinking about this morning because all the white people I've been seeing have been saying we need to educate ourselves. We need to do this. We need to educate ourselves. I'm a little confused about how uneducated white people are on this. Like, aren't you interested at all? In the culture and how your world is the way it is, aren't you interested? Not obviously you, because you and we both. I don't get it. I don't get how you could be so dumb and blind to mute.
It's terrible, not just for what it is, but for what it isn't. If you're ignorant of even the most elementary facts about the Black experience in the United States of America, you don't know how that negatively impacts your life. You don't know how many people it cuts off from your kin, from your purview. You don't know. And to use a cliche, to use a well-worn idiom, perhaps incorrectly, you don't know what you're missing out on. It's such a vast problem that you can have despair looking at it. You can have despair when you hear white people talking about how Black people shouldn't be protesting because a Gucci store got burnt down.
Oh, fuck that.
Excuse me.
So mad.
Excuse me. And that's how successful Fox News and the White House have been in conflating the rioters with the protesters. They've done a very good job of it. In a cynical way, you have to take your hat off. They still have a grip on the narrative. And I had a talk with a few people at a liquor store the other day with masks on. We all had masks on. We were all kind of standing apart from one another. I understand I understand they're angry, but these are small business owners who are getting their shops burned down. I says, kindly hold on a minute. The protesters who are fed up with racism have nothing at all to do with the rest getting smashed to bits. Those are rioters who are doing that, not protesters. They're different. We have different words to describe them. And, and they got it. I tried not to be, because tone is everything.
Yeah, you don't want to be condescending.
No matter how right you think you are, you're going to turn them off. So I was kind, and they're like, "Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way." The two of them said that. That was good. I'm not saying like, oh, it's
in some ways it has to be a white person
that was good.
Explaining to other white people in white people language so they can understand what the hell is actually going on. I like the rioting. It doesn't really piss me off that much. Well, the fact that a lot of people who have been arrested for instigating arson and riots and stuff have been white people who are just causing shit. And I've been writing up those stories, right? Because like from the press releases from the Justice Department and whatnot, like there's a bunch of white people who went into Minneapolis with incendiary devices and was handing them out. Throw my bomb at the police or something like that. The guy said, like it's
Right.
it's that you know what, like the police, what do they do except for protect businesses? That's all I know. What do they do?
No, I mean, I've known, my father used to have the cops called on him often by my mother and I, a lot. It happened 6 or 7 times before I turned 17. And I remember cops who could not, they just didn't have it in them to offer me any words. They just did their jobs. They were dealing with their own shit, I'm sure, looking back. And then there were cops who did. How you doing, little man? If you feel sad, it's okay. That kind of thing. I remember one cop, very nice guy. And, it's not, policemen have one of the worst jobs in the world, especially in a sick, violent country like America. And I don't envy them for 1 second. In fact, I'm grateful. But because when I call the cops, I know they're going to be on my side. That's the difference. As long as I'm not, acting in an aggressive manner to them.
Right.
When I got pulled over the other day for being on my cell phone. And I put both my hands on the sill, the door, just to let the cop know. And he said thank you, and he was grateful and stuff like that. So even I do shit like that.
You put on the sill, not on 10 and 2.
No, because I want the cops to see. They can't. I'm too big. They can't see around my shoulders when I have that. When they're coming up,
that's a weird flex. When the cops come up and pull me over, I gotta put my.
No, they can't. They have to put them on. Yeah,
I've
learned
never
that.
seen that.
Yeah, I put them out. I put both my hands out the driver's side window. So the way forward is not easy, but it involves empathy. I know that much. And empathy is fed by knowledge. Empathy nurtures itself, of course, by its own use, by the heart that beats, that powers it. But it's also strengthened by knowledge. And I would ask anyone listening now, who, again, I'm only speaking for white men. It's all I think. I'm with Terry Crews on that. I think I can only speak for who I am. That being said, try to imagine my white brothers, if you want to look at it that way, what it's like to be black in America. And if you can't imagine it, go on YouTube and listen to any interview by James Baldwin, any interview of Miles Davis, any interview of Nina Simone, and you'll be on your way. You'll be on your way to learning something.